There's a whole cohort of humans who grew up memorizing their best friend's phone number, but also stood in line for the original iPhone, and researchers still debate what box to put them in. Born somewhere between 1976 and 1985, you're not quite Generation X, definitely not a full millennial, even though people love forcing you into those categories. Around 2014, academics started using the term Xennial to describe you. Some sociologists even call this a microgeneration because the birth year window is unusually narrow. But here's the thing. What unfolded during that precise historical moment created psychological patterns genuinely worth unpacking. Today, we're diving into what makes this group fascinating from a behavioral science lens. Your early years unfolded in a completely analog universe. Boredom wasn't something you escaped, it was just part of existing. You memorized digits to reach people, and if you missed your show on TV, gone forever. No streaming, no recording, just loss. Then, right as you stepped into adulthood, everything flipped to digital. Not slowly, overnight. The psychological impact of that timing still reverberating today. Most generations mature entirely within a single technological framework. Xennials, though, navigated two radically different paradigms during the years when identity formation peaks. Your teenage reality looked nothing like your 20s reality, and that gap felt wider than what most age cohorts experience. Think about the practical implications. Much of your adolescence involved scribbling notes on paper and passing them in class. Conversations vanished the moment they ended. Making plans meant no safety net of running 5 men late texts. You simply arrived somewhere and trusted your friends would show up too. That demanded an entirely different species of trust and reliability than exists now. But then your 20s arrived, and suddenly everyone owned cell phones. You created Friendster profiles, then MySpace, then Facebook. Before social platforms, people had maybe 3 contact methods: home phone, work phone, or physically appearing at someone's door. Then, abruptly, you're juggling 17 messaging platforms, and somehow you just adapted. During your formative years, you inhabited both realities. Brain development research shows the prefrontal cortex, the area governing our capacity to adapt and master complex skills, keeps maturing until approximately age 25. Your brain was still plastic when the world went digital. A Nature neuroscience study confirmed this region develops well into the mid-20s. Xennials were still in that high plasticity phase when technology completely transformed. Young enough that adopting new tools felt intuitive, but old enough to vividly recall what preceded them. Because Gen Xers were already adults when tech exploded, they can carry skepticism toward it. Millennials, especially younger ones, possess zero authentic memory of pre-internet existence. As a Xennial, you've internalized both experiences, creating a form of cognitive bilingualism that's legitimately uncommon. You can sustain face-to-face dialogue without glancing at your device every 30 seconds, yet you don't feel intimidated learning new software either. You remember the sensation of being genuinely unreachable for extended periods, an experience many younger humans simply lack. But you're also not technologically anxious like some older demographics. This manifests in subtle ways you might not recognize, like your relationship with privacy probably differs from other generations. You matured in an era where embarrassing moments just dissolved into memory rather than persisting eternally online. That 7th grade haircut disaster, that painful breakup, that regrettable party incident, no photographic evidence exists. It lives only in oral stories people share. This establishes a fundamentally altered relationship with your personal history. Your recollections could transform, could become narratives, could shift contours over time the way human memory organically functions. You weren't imprisoned by permanent records. Research on autobiographical memory indicates how we archive and retrieve personal experiences is remarkably flexible. Our brains naturally edit memories, preserving significance, releasing the rest. When everything becomes permanently documented and searchable, that organic process gets disrupted in ways we're still decoding. But here's where complications emerge. You also entered professional life around the 2008 financial collapse, meaning many of you faced severe economic turbulence during precisely the years meant for career establishment. You learned to adapt, but also learned everything could collapse. That timing carries more weight than people acknowledge. Research on economic trauma reveals that financial hardship during this developmental stage produces enduring psychological impacts. Individuals experiencing job loss or monetary instability during these years often carry those scars forward, even after circumstances improve. It reshapes how you conceptualize money, security, and risk in ways that don't easily evaporate. So you've got this cohort that mastered navigating massive technological disruption, but also got economically wounded right when attempting to build foundations. You can handle change because survival demanded it, but you might also carry this persistent undercurrent of what if everything crumbles again, threading through your choices. And nobody really addresses this combination. Cultural discourse about generations tends to frame Gen X versus Millennials as if everyone born after 1965 and before 2000 is essentially identical. But the specific years of your birth, especially during rapid change periods, forge distinct experiences that resist those sweeping categories. Xennials navigate a paradox that's honestly quite rare. You possess the self-sufficiency and wariness of Gen X because you grew up before intensive parenting became normalized. Your parents probably didn't track your location for hours, and that was just standard. You learned problem-solving independently, entertaining yourself, managing boredom and frustration without immediate parental rescue. Yet, you also reached maturity during the Internet's early optimistic phase, when technology was still believed to unite everyone and resolve everything, before we collectively realized it might actually complicate certain things. It's strange occupying that space. Self-reliant yet collaborative, skeptical yet hopeful, digital yet analog. What appears to characterize Xennials is this capacity to hold contradictions without internal conflict. You recall both the before and after, which means you perceive what was gained and what was sacrificed. Maybe you're not as nostalgic as Gen X might be, since you genuinely value modern conveniences too. However, unlike many younger demographics, you still acknowledge what got traded away. You lost the ability to be truly solitary with your thoughts without deliberate effort. You lost the patience born from waiting. You lost a particular quality of presence that existed when there wasn't perpetually something else demanding your attention. But you gained connection, information, and possibilities your younger self couldn't have conceptualized. If you're a Xennial, you probably sense you don't quite belong anywhere. Too young for certain things, too old for others, suspended between two worlds. That's not a deficiency, that's actually the signature characteristic of your generation's journey. In a reality that keeps transforming faster than anyone can anticipate, having survived one enormous transition might be among the most valuable lessons you could have absorbed. You've internalized how to adapt. The environment where you were raised doesn't necessarily dictate where you must remain forever. The Xennial experience deserves examination because of that more than anything, not because you're exceptional in some hierarchical sense, but because you lived through a specific historical inflection point that taught you something the rest of us are still attempting to grasp: how to evolve without losing your core self in the transformation. If this connected with you, I genuinely appreciate you hitting that like button and subscribing to Hidden Mindscapes. Your support makes this content possible. I've got more videos exploring different topics with this same depth coming soon. I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.